Random sampling. One of those assignments that we cannot redo individual problems, as it says right off the bat, because these are multiple choice. And this is one of those assignments that if you pay super close attention and patiently follow along, you will be able to get every single problem right. Now, if you make a mistake, as always, hit finish assignment, submit, and then just reattempt it. Even though your grade's going to be bad, whatever, your highest grade always sticks. Some of the beauty of this digital curriculum. All right, let's talk about random sampling. When I think about random sampling, I always think about Costco. Costco is my favorite place to go to not buy anything. I love tagging along with my family, with my wife, her family. Her parents have the Costco card. Go with them. Everyone goes out, buys what they need, and I go to what I call is the pro. I'm going to write this out because it's this important. The Costco Strategy. And here it is. The Costco Strategy is not about buying things. It's not about saving money. It's about dominating the free sample game. So in Costco, on the surface of this two-dimensional map, you will see in the back we've got the bakery. Over here and here you've got your regular aisles of food. Back there is like some dairy, meat situation. Then you've got the snacks up front. In each of these are free samples. Now normally they are dependent, at least partially, on being cooked. So in the back you might have some of my favorite food of all time, chicken Alfredo. Then over here you've got chicken nuggets. Over here you've got pizza. Then you've got some chips and salsa. And over here is some random energy drink. I'm not going to shorten that ED for obvious reasons. Okay, now, the chicken Alfredo comes out fresh every like 4 minutes. The chicken nuggets similar, and same thing for the pizza. You can do your initial lap around trying to time, okay, how far are they along? Is there a chicken Alfredo that's available? If so, I'm grabbing that right away. But there may be only a couple because I've timed it wrong. I make it over to chicken nuggets. I'm in that 5-minute window. They're not available yet. So I, after initially doing my lap, figure out how do I time it such that I can head out and just straight up shark this in a full loop to make sure I'm getting as many free samples as possible consecutively. And yeah, I might be taking 2 and bringing 1 to my wife or my family, or eating multiple on the way back on quote unquote accident and then going back for more. But this is the Costco strategy for free sample heaven. Free sample heaven. And don't worry, I do eventually buy some things, and sometimes the things that the free samples are of, because I want to support that free sample game. Okay, there you go. Costco. If you learn nothing else applicable from my math lessons, learn about the Costco free sample shark game. And in that sense, a smaller group that's used to make conclusions about the entire group, it's like a smaller piece that's used to make predictions about the larger food item that you are getting a free sample of. Boom, there's the connection to Costco. Game over. Now, the entire group of people, or of the survey that you're trying to get, it's like you have people who live in a town. You want to know the whole population. Now, notice, don't hit check yet until you make sure it lines up. The entire group you might have first. So these might be in a different order, but you're going to have the same 2 in some order. Entire group, population. Smaller group, used to make conclusions about the entire group, sample. If you missed it already, hit submit and then reattempt it. Now we're going to talk about how do we make sure that the survey that we're giving is representative, meaning it's random, it's fairly given, and therefore the data can be accurate. It is too difficult to give a survey to every single person in every single population. If I wanted to, say in Portland where I live, ask everyone what they think of the new dog park, I cannot ask every single person. There's too many people. It would take too much time. I would spend the rest of my life just trying to get people to fill out the darn survey. Instead, I can give the survey out to a smaller group as long as that smaller group is representative of the whole population. And then as long as I give it to at least 20% of the people, my sample size is large enough that I could generally predict about the whole. So we're going to read each one of these populations and figure out, is this a representative way of giving a survey? Or is it biased, meaning am I only targeting a certain group? Like if I want that dog park to be passed, am I only asking pet owners that are likely to use it? All right, number 2. A survey about a favorite cereal is given to every 5th person who enters a supermarket. Out there, what's your favorite cereal? For me, growing up, it was a combination of Frosted Mini Wheats. I also think Kix is incredibly underrated. The old man in me really appreciated Raisin Bran for some reason. There you go. It's given to every 5th person who enters a supermarket. So this is truly random. I'm not just asking the women who enter. I'm not just asking kids. So it's representative because it truly is randomly selected. All right. And you will see we're going to get it right. 2 down, 8 to go. Paul asks all his friends to identify their favorite item on the school lunch menu. This survey is blank because the people in the survey blank. Now, all his friends in theory might be representative of the school, but in general, they might not. All Paul's friends, say they're 7th graders, there might be like 5 middle school boys that are all obsessed with pepperoni pizza. Meanwhile, people across the cafeteria cannot eat pizza, either because they're dairy allergic, they just don't like meat, so they're not into pepperoni, but maybe they do like cheese pizza, or maybe they just really like all the other options that the cafeteria has to order. So this is an example of a bias survey, because Paul's friends do not accurately represent the entire population. Instead, Paul needs to ask people outside of his friends what they think. Okay. Number 4, a movie studio surveys all the adults in an audience leaving a children's movie by asking the adults to rate the film. Well, I hope that you're already out there screaming at your computer, bias! A lot of you are probably technically kids, you're minors, and you know how these things work. You go to a kids movie, or like your younger siblings go. Maybe the adults hate it, but the kids love it because it's made for kids. So if you don't ask the kids what their opinion is in a kids movie and just the adults, you're making a mistake. This is also a shout out to Pixar, who is brilliant in what they do. Pixar has layers that work for every age group. And if you haven't watched a Pixar movie like, say, Finding Nemo in many years, I recommend you go back right now and you watch it again. You will find things, now that you're older, that you had no idea existed when you were younger. The babies get the shiny colors and the funny looking animals. The older kids get like some low level, like sort of humor that's made for, I don't know, fart jokes, and you've got other like pranky humor. And then the adults, there is some adult humor in those Pixar movies that will go right over your head until you watch it again later and go, oh my gosh, they put that in there? Go Pixar. Absolute favorite. All right, question 5. Jill randomly picks 100 people from a phone directory and asks them about their favorite restaurant. For all of you out there who don't know what a phone directory is, it was a book that had everyone's phone number in it, sometimes and address, and you could just call up whoever you wanted because your information was public. After cell phones, this seems insane. And whenever somebody calls you whose number you don't have saved, you're likely not to answer it, and you're likely to be suspicious of a scammer, and for good reason. But back in this day, you could just randomly choose numbers from a phone directory, call them up, and get an honest, random survey. And because it is random, and it's from a phone book that has everyone's number in it, in theory, it is representative. Number 6, David wants to know which football team is the most popular in the country. So that's a key word here. The whole country. Not just an individual stadium, the whole country. Which sample will give him the best chance to make an accurate prediction? Is it a survey of 80 men walking into the stadium before the game? This is as biased as it gets. You're just asking men, and you're just asking a single stadium when you're trying to determine the whole country. A survey of 80 men and women leaving the stadium after the game. Well, at least you're asking women this time, but you're still asking a single stadium. So if I'm asking the Portland Stadium of the Rose Garden, oh look, the Blazers are playing. 80% of my people said Blazers. 20% were the opposing team. I guess the majority of people in the whole nation are Blazers fans. No, I have to ask more than a single stadium. So it's between these two. a survey of 80 people randomly selected from a national phone directory, and a survey of 80 people randomly selected from a sporting good company's mailing list. Now, a lot of people will say this last one, but I have to ask you out there, are you subscribed to a sporting good company's mailing list? If so, you might be an 80-year-old man who is an avid golf fan. I happen to like golf as well, but many people do not subscribe to sporting good companies' mailing lists. Instead, the national phone directory, like the last problem, is the only way of guaranteeing that we have everybody covered in our sample. Number 7. A farmer wants to know if his trees have been infected with a virus. Virus. Very, very fitting right now. He tests 2 trees out of 1,000, and neither of his trees is sick. He decides all of his trees must be fine. Is his prediction as accurate as possible based on the sample surveyed? Select each reason that explains why or why not. Every year when I give this problem, I like to talk about 2 different toys that are near and dear to my nostalgic childhood. Not that I ever had either one of them, but I just remember them because they were so famous, so popular, and the commercials in this story were they're just everywhere. And that is Tickle Me Elmo, Tickle Me Elmo, and Furby. Now, if you don't know what these are, I have put them in the thumbnail at the beginning of this YouTube video, and you could see them. Just also Google. They were popular toys that interacted with kids. They were like stuffed animal kind of things, but they could talk to you, they could hear what you're saying, they could in many ways like learn from you. It was very creepy, seemed to be inspired by like artificial intelligence movies. And you'd think naturally, oh, that is creepy. Well, can't like something go wrong with that? And the answer is yes, something can go wrong. And specifically, it can go wrong when a disgruntled factory employee decides that he or she is going to program the Furby or the Tickle Me Elmo to not say the cute, nice things that kids are supposed to hear, and instead say mean things or inappropriate things. They're going to curse at kids, for instance. Somewhere in the nation, this happened, and around Christmas at the worst possible time, these toys had to be mass recalled from the entire nation's shelves during the Christmas season. Just like the farmer wanting to test if his trees are infected by a virus, the company that produced these toys had to test all these factories to see where did this improper cursing Furby or Tickle Me Elmo come from. And in the meantime, they had to shut down all the factories and all the production and have all of them that were sent out to families sent back. Now, did anyone keep theirs and not send it back? If it was me, I sure would, and I would definitely sell it now, probably for a lot of money. But this farmer wants to see, all right, I have 1,000 different trees. Which of them have been infected with a virus? And he tests out of 1,000 trees, 2. And out of those 2 trees, none of them are infected with the virus. So he thinks, cool, all my trees are good. Is this a good way of doing this? No, not even close. First of all, 20% is the magic number. That's what I said before. So 20% you could write as 0.20. Or 0.2. And my internet and computer are being a little slow right now. But there we go, 0.20. Times the 1,000 trees. And again, everything's seeming to catch up right now. There you go. So 200. He should have done 200 trees. And instead, he only did 2. So the first thing is that the farmer needs to test more trees. So find that in your problem. He needs to test more trees. Secondly, the farmer needs to test trees from different areas. You don't just go to one area and test trees. It could be on the other side of the farm where the virus is. So it's wrong for 2 reasons. The other one is no, the farmer should have used a single tree in his sample. That's even worse. And if it's no, it can't also be yes. So all the yeses are automatically wrong. Make sure you choose both of these. When you do, you will get a positive response like fabulous. All right, number 8. Tom wants to know which candidate people in his town will choose for mayor. He surveys 100 people who live on his street. They all choose Karen. Tom predicts Karen will win the election. Is his prediction as accurate as possible based on the sample surveyed? Select each reason that explains why or why not. Once again, there's a chance, if he asks the people on his street, that is representative of the town, but more likely, it's that Maybe Karen is like Tom's wife, or Karen lives on the same street, and people know Karen and they like Karen, and they're going to vote for Karen. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, they're very anti-Karen. They think, Karen's always working with me in my office. I don't like Karen. Therefore, it's not accurate. It's a biased sample. So we check the reasons of no. Is it no? He, wow, great grammar, should have only surveyed those who shared his political views. Wow, no, that's the definition of bias and some of the main problems with really political news right now everywhere. Or no, people on his street may not accurately reflect the choices of the entire town. Yeah, that's true. That sounds good. That's grammatically correct. We're going with that one. And look what it says. I vote for that answer. So good. Number 9. Storm, that's an awesome name, wants to know how many students at his school have cell phones. Keep in mind this was made like 8 years ago, so these numbers are a little outdated. There are 200 students in his school. He asks every 4th student, that's good, it's random, who enters the building until he reaches 50 students. Let's check the 20% of 5, or 200. So he's got to ask at least 40, and he asks 50 of them, so good. He determines about 70% of the students at his school have cell phones. Is his prediction as accurate as possible based on the sample surveyed? Well, this is a good survey. It is large enough to make a prediction because he asked at least 40 people, and it is random. The other one for yes is some sample bias is unavoidable. No, he's done a good job to avoid the bias in his sample. And just like that band problem from before, you rock. And finally, this problem is my personal nightmare. I am a high school teacher for a reason. I respect all teachers, and especially those that work in middle school. Middle school is a very difficult age. Lots of transitions, lots of hormones, lots of struggles with motivation in general. Everything is just sort of hitting the fan at that age. I like to think of Mrs. Smith as like a 7th grade teacher. She's awesome. She's a rock star. She's doing her best. But she happens to have an uncomprehendable 150 students. And she wants to know if her students did their homework. Gosh, just imagine grading 150 student homework assignments a night. If that's you out there, again, more power to you. You probably came up with a system like maybe you don't grade homework, or maybe your TA grades homework, or maybe you just like sort of check that they did it. Grade on participation. I don't know. It's impossible to grade 150 students' homework every day. Anyway, she asks all 50 of the students in her homework club if they finished. Just take a moment to let that sink in. She has a homework club, probably after school, that 50 students, 50 are in. So 50 7th graders pile into her room at the same time, after school, to work on homework. That is like the 3rd circle of hell status. Nearly all the students, somehow out of 50, in the homework club finished, so she assumes most of her students will have finished their homework. Is her prediction as accurate as possible based on the sample surveyed? Well, let's think about it. If you have homework club, the odds of the homework club doing their homework are pretty good. They're literally in homework club. Meanwhile, the 100 other students, they didn't stay after school to do their homework. They could be skipping their homework. They could realize, oh, wait a minute, middle school grades don't really matter. So I'm just not going to do my homework, which is a middle school fight that people constantly have as teachers. And let me remind you that work habits and skills, all of it matters, because if you don't do anything in middle school for 3 years, and all of a sudden you're in high school, maybe you're out there in this position. Oh, crap. I don't know like 3 years worth of math. Turns out high school math is really hard if I haven't done math in 3 years. So, it's no. No, she's got to ask more people than just her homework club, so let's check. Is it? No. Her sample size of 50 students is too small to make a prediction about 150 students? Well, let's check. 20% of 150, did she ask at least 150? At least 30 people? Yes, she asks 50, so that's good. No, the Mrs. Smith, flex, should have surveyed the very best students in her homework club only. That's really biased. No, that's incredibly wrong. No students in the homework club are especially likely to do their homework. Ding, ding, ding. They're in homework club. Their parents are probably forcing them to be a part of it, or maybe they just want extra time with their friends. Either way, there it is. We have all 10 correct. You've heard some fun stories, some anecdotes, some strategies on Costco. Go Google the thing about Furby and Tickle Me Elmo if you want to look more into that. About a 20-minute video, so let's cut it off there. I hope that in life you find a way to get as many free samples as possible, because, you know what? sometimes free just tastes best. Best wishes on your whole day, and I'll see you at Costco. Bye bye.